Hello there, and welcome. I'm very glad you found your way here tonight. Maybe you have had a long day. Maybe your mind is still moving a little too quickly, turning over small worries, unfinished thoughts, or the faint glow of a screen that has followed you farther into the night than you meant it to. Or maybe you're here for a simpler reason, because Hallownest has a way of making dark places feel strangely peaceful, and Grimm, for all his fire and terror, carries one of the most hypnotic stories in all of Hallownest. So tonight you can settle in, let your shoulders fall, let your breathing slow, let the room around you become soft at the edges. You do not need to win a boss fight tonight. You do not need to time a dash through red fire. You do not need to count flame pillars, chase a final hit, or keep your nerves steady while the Nightmare King folds himself through the air like a living wound in the dark. Tonight, we are not rushing. Tonight, we are going to follow the Grimm troop slowly, gently and carefully. We are going to begin with the lonely lantern in the Howling Cliffs, with the corpse of an acolyte and a red flame waiting in a dead place. Then we will watch the tents appear in Dirtmouth, sudden and impossible, under Elderbug's anxious gaze. We will meet Troopmaster Grimm, the performer, the master, the vessel, the father, the mask. We will speak of the Grimm child, of the ritual, of Brum's quiet rebellion, of Divine's strange hunger, of the Grimmkin scattered through Hallownest, and of the deeper power behind it all, the Nightmare's heart. And because Hallownest is a kingdom of half-lit rooms and unfinished echoes, we will move carefully. Some truths are spoken plainly by those who still remember. Some are written into charms, journals, dreams, and old titles carried by gods and kings. Some are only suggested by a corpse beside a lantern, a musician's weariness, or the way a red heart beats behind a curtain of nightmare. We will let the certain things stay steady, and let the mysteries remain soft at the edges. Before we begin, if this quiet journey helps you rest, you can leave a like so another tired wanderer might find it too. And if you feel like leaving a comment, tell me where you are watching from tonight. It is a comforting thought. Little lights in different rooms, all listening to the same low song, all drifting towards sleep beneath the same red lantern. Now, breathe in and breathe out. The stage is dark. The lantern waits. The music has not yet begun. The story of Grimm does not begin in the bright heart of Hallownest. It begins out on the edge, in the Howling Cliffs, where the wind is loud and the kingdom already feels far away. That setting matters. The Howling Cliffs are not a place of ordinary life. They are not green paths still damp and overgrown. They are not the city of tears with its silent rain and old stone. They are a boundary, a place above and outside where the world seems thinned by weather. The cliffs feel like the edge of memory, and it is there, hidden behind breakable walls and a secret path, that the night finds the remains connected to the Nightmare Lantern. This is how the Grimm Troop ritual begins. The night discovers the hidden chamber in the Howling Cliffs and lights the Nightmare Lantern. Once the lantern is lit, the Grimm Troop is called to Hallownest. The tents appear in Dirtmouth, not as a slow construction project, not as wanderers arriving on foot, but as something closer to a summoning. One moment Dirtmouth is lonely and familiar. Then the red tents are there, music in the air, strange performers waiting under cloth and flame. That sudden arrival tells us something important. The Grimm Troop is not merely a circus that travels by road. Grimm himself says, in essence, that he travels through dream at the call of the lantern. The hunter's journal frames him with the image of dream travel and consuming the flames of a fallen kingdom. So from the very beginning, the troop is linked to ruins, nightmares, and the remains of places that have already suffered. This is one of the first quiet truths that makes Grimm so compelling. He does not come to Hallownest because Hallownest is alive and welcoming. He comes because Hallownest is dead enough to feed a ritual. The lantern is not just a lamp, it is an anchor. Grimm later makes this very clear when he asks the knight to destroy it. If the nightmare lantern is broken during the banishment path, the Grimm troop is expelled from Hallownest. That means the lantern is what fastens the troop to a place. It is the hook in the fabric of the waking world. It gives the nightmare a way to stay. There is a sadness in that, because the lantern is found with a dead acolyte. The world does not need to tell us every detail of that acolyte's life. Hallownest rarely works that way. It lets the placement speak. Someone connected to the ritual reached Hallownest before Grimm's arrival. Someone brought or tended the lantern. Someone died in a hidden place near the edge of the kingdom. And long after that death, the knight arrives, strikes the old mechanism into life, and calls something red and theatrical into the ruins. This is how Grimm's story often speaks. It feels grand, but the clues are small. A corpse, a flame, a hidden wall, a sudden tent, a nervous old bug in Dirtmouth wondering what has arrived above his quiet town. So we can imagine that first flame slowly, not as a jump scare, not as a burst of violence, just a small red glow waking in a secret room while the wind moves outside. A lantern that has been waiting a long time. A call sent not through ordinary air but through dream. Somewhere beyond Hallownest, somewhere in the red dark of the nightmare realm, the troop hears it. And the ritual begins again, and when the call is answered, Dirtmouth becomes a stage. Dirtmouth is one of the gentlest places in Hallownest, which is why the Grimm troop's arrival feels so uncanny. Before the troop appears, Dirtmouth is mostly quiet. Elderbug stands near the well. The old town carries the feeling of a place that has been emptied by time. Wanderers pass through, shops open as the night rescues or discovers more people. But even when Dirtmouth grows busier, it remains a small resting place above the dark. Then the Grimm troop arrives, and the mood changes immediately. Red tents rise on the left side of town, music spills into the air, the colour palette shifts. The entire presence of the troop feels deliberate, theatrical, and invasive. Elderbug is unsettled by it, and he is right to be. He notices whole structures appearing out of nowhere, dreadful music and horrific masks. He does not understand the troop, but his discomfort is wise. Something has come to Dirtmouth that does not belong to the normal order of Hallownest. The main tent is not merely a boss room, it is a stage. Grimm appears in red light and smoke. He speaks with the formal grace of a performer who understands ritual, audience, and role. He knows the knight has called the troop. He frames the situation as a compact written in scarlet fire. He gives the knight the Grimm child and assigns their part in the ritual. This is important. Grimm does not behave like a random invader. He behaves like someone entering a play that has been performed many times before. The knight has a role. Grimm has a role. The Grimm child has a role. The Grimmkin have a role. Even the fallen kingdom has a role, because its nightmares and flames are what the ritual harvests. This is why Grimm is often so beloved by wanderers. He is dangerous. Yes, he is connected to a sinister force, yes. But he is also exquisitely formal. He has manners, he bows, he rewards performance. His first boss fight begins with a sense of ceremony, and if the knight bows to him before the battle, Grimm bows back. That small animation has become famous for good reason. It tells the wanderer that Grimm is not just a monster, he is a master of performance. He understands the duel as dance. The fight itself reinforces this. Grimm's attacks are fast, elegant, and readable. Firebats, cloak spikes, dive and dash, an uppercut into falling flames, flame pillars, and the pufferfish-like burst of fire all feel like choreography. The wanderer learns his rhythm. The arena becomes a theatre. The audience of Grimmkin watches, and when Grimm is defeated, he does not collapse like a beast that has been simply slain. He continues the ritual, he rewards the knight, he moves the story forward. The sleepy way to understand Dirtmouth's transformation is this. The troop turns a resting place into a threshold. Above Hallow Nest, where the wanderer usually pauses, sells relics, buys charms, and listens to the quiet town theme, a red stage appears. It reminds us that even the safest places in Hallow Nest are not truly sealed. Dream can enter, nightmare can enter, a circus can arrive from somewhere outside the visible map, pitch its tents, and ask the little knight to help feed an ancient heart. Dirtmouth does not become crowded. It becomes haunted by music, and in that music, the entire Grimm story begins to breathe. To understand Grimm, we have to let him be more than one thing at once. Troopmaster Grimm is easy to misunderstand if we flatten him into only one thing. He is not just a boss. He is not just a charming villain. He is not simply the Nightmare Heart itself. The world separates these ideas. Grimm is the master of the Grimm Troop, and Nightmare King Grimm is his dream form. Behind him, deeper than him, is the Nightmare's heart, the power that the troop serves and the being sustained by the ritual. He summarizes Grimm's role by saying that he and the troop travel from the Nightmare realm to places where the Nightmare lantern has been lit. They gather nightmare flames from ruined lands to fuel the Nightmare's heart. The ritual feeds the Grimm child first, and then the Nightmare King is slain, so that he can be reborn anew through the child. That sounds simple when stated plainly, but emotionally it is very strange. Grimm is both leader and sacrifice. He gives orders, but he is also bound by the ritual. He is the father who must burn so the child can carry the flame forward. The hunter's journal phrase associated with Grimmkin masters, often summarized as burning the father and feeding the child, makes the structure brutally clear. The ritual is inheritance by destruction. This is where Grimm becomes one of Hallow Nest's most elegant mirrors of the larger world. Hallow Nest is full of beings who use children, vessels, followers, or descendants to preserve a system. The Pale King creates vessels to contain the radiance. The White Lady recognizes something familiar and ironic in the completed Grimm child, because the Knight, one of her own spawn, has helped the Scarlet Heart grow its own. Hallow Nest itself is built on the inheritance, sacrifice, suppression, and the attempt to make something last beyond its natural end. Grimm's ritual fits that pattern, but with a different colour. Hallow Nest is pale, blue, black, and infected orange. Grimm is red. He belongs to flame, velvet, music, and nightmare. His system is not about sealing infection inside an empty vessel. It is about renewing a heart by repeating a performance forever. That word forever is not directly written over the ritual in big letters, but it is felt everywhere. Grimm speaks as someone exhausted by repetition. He says, in one of his most important lines, that a song that never ends is no song at all. That line may be gentle, but it is devastating. Grimm is a musician. He understands rhythm. He understands that performance needs an ending. To him, the ritual has become a prison disguised as art. Grimm, by contrast, still speaks the ritual's language. He is graceful inside it. He seems to embrace it, or at least to embody it so completely that we cannot separate his will from the heart's design. This is another place to be careful. The world does not give us a private confession from Grimm saying exactly how much freedom he has. Grimm sees the troop as enslaved. The White Lady sees the heart's spawn and future form. The dream nail and story entries describe prolonging and feeding the heart. From these clues, it is fair to say Grimm is bound to the ritual. Whether he personally desires it, accepts it, or has become indistinguishable from it is part of the mystery. And that mystery is why he works. When Grimm bows, is it courtesy or choreography? When he praises the night, is it respect or ritual speech? When he fights, is he testing the night, entertaining the audience, strengthening the Grimm child, or all of these at once? The answer is probably all of these at once, because Grimm is a character whose truth is performance. He does not step outside the theatre to explain himself. The theatre is him. So we can let that become soft instead of stressful. Imagine the red stage, the slow bow, the cloak opening like wings, the first notes of Christopher Larkin's music gathering under the tent, the audience still, the night small and silent, Grimm tall, thin, bright-eyed, perfectly composed. No rush, no panic. Only the beginning of a dance that has happened before, in other dead kingdoms, under other lanterns with other bearers of flame. And then there is the Grimm child, small and quiet at first, following close behind the night. At first, the Grimm child charm can feel almost cute. The little familiar follows the night through Hallownest. In its earliest phase, it does not deal damage. As the ritual progresses and it consumes nightmare flames, it changes. Later phases allow it to shoot fireballs, dealing more damage as it grows. The charm marks uncollected flames on the map when equipped, and it is required for access to parts of the ritual, including the Grimmkin and the later Grimm fights. But in story, the Grimm child is far more than a pet. It is the future of the ritual. The completed Grimm child is described as containing a living scarlet flame. The White Lady's special dialogue when the knight wears the completed Grimm child is one of the most important story pieces in the entire ritual. She recognizes the Scarlet Heart's success and the irony of using her spawn to grow its own. She also suggests that she knows what form time will bring for the creature. The implication is that the Grimm child will one day become what Grimm is, or at least become the next vessel through which the nightmare heart continues its cycle. This is reinforced by the structure of the ritual. The child is fed, the father is burned, the old master is destroyed in nightmare, and the living flame continues forward. The Grimm child is not a side reward that happens to come from the ritual. It is the living container of the ritual's renewal. That makes the knight's role unsettling. The knight carries the child. The knight collects the flames. The knight feeds it. The knight defeats Grimm, and if the ritual is completed, defeats Nightmare King Grimm. In doing so, the knight does not destroy the nightmare heart. They help sustain it. They complete the performance. This is one of the strangest moral shapes in Hallownest. The world does not stop you and say, now choose good or evil in simple language. Instead, it gives you two eerie outcomes. Complete the ritual, and you participate in an ancient cycle, strengthening the Grimm child into its final form while the troop vanishes from Dirtmouth. Banish the troop and you break the anchor, ending the ritual's presence in Hallownest, but with the cost of leaving the ritual unresolved and replacing Grimmchild with carefree melody. Neither path is presented with a cheerful trumpet. The ritual ending gives mastery, challenge, and completion, but it leaves the heart's cycle alive. The banishment ending gives release, at least for Hallownest, and perhaps for Broom, but it carries its own sadness. Nim appears in Dirtmouth afterward, resembling Broom but without his memory. The song continues in another form, gentler, emptier, unburdened and yet strangely hollow. The Grimmchild therefore becomes a question the wanderer carries. Is it a child, a charm, a spawn, a successor, a fragment of a higher being's will, a little companion with red eyes and a hidden future? The answer is yes, in layers. Hallownest often lets one object be practical, emotional, and cosmic at the same time. The Grimmchild is useful in combat, adorable at a bench, required for ritual progression, and horrifying when understood as a vessel for a repeating nightmare. We can picture it resting beside the night on a bench, small, quiet, not attacking, just a tiny red flame with wings folded into itself. It does not look like a kingdom-ending force. It does not look like the future master of a troop. But that is part of the unease. In Hallownest, enormous systems often hide inside small bodies. A vessel can be small, a god can be hidden, a ritual can fit inside a charm notch. The flames do not wait alone. They are guarded by Grimmkin, servants of the same red ritual. Once the knight accepts Grimmchild, the map begins to show flames. These flames are guarded by Grimmkin. First come Grimmkin novices, later Grimmkin masters, finally Grimmkin nightmares. Each stage of the ritual asks for more flame, and each stage raises the danger. In the journey, this sends the knight back through Hallownest. That is very clever design. The Grimm Troop content does not simply add one isolated arena. It re-haunts the old kingdom. Places the wanderer thought they understood become marked by red fire. The crossroads, green path, the city, the waterways, the cliffs, Deepnest, and other familiar routes can become part of a new pattern. The old map is reinterpreted through nightmare. Story-wise, the Grimmkin are gathering the flame in Dream. Grimm's dialogue explains that his kin spread across the land, harvesting a burning essence peculiar to his breed, the flame in Dream. The Grimmchild gathers that essence within itself, so the flames are not ordinary fire. They are nightmare essence drawn from a dead or dying kingdom. This matters because Hallownest is already full of dreams. The dream nail reveals lingering thoughts, memories, ghosts, regrets, and old powers. Essence is tied to dream. The radiance exists through dream and memory. The seer speaks of dream history. The Grimm Troop enters this same broad metaphysical territory, but from the red side of it. If the radiance is blazing memory and infection, Grimm is scarlet nightmare and ritualized hunger. The Grimmkin do not feel like ordinary servants. They feel like pieces of the ritual dispersed across the map. They wait in strange places, holding flame, requiring the Grimmchild to access them. They are not there for the wanderer in a normal enemy population sense. They are there because the troop has seeded Hallownest with harvesters. That is why collecting flames feels different from collecting geo or charms. Each flame is part of an invisible system. The knight defeats a Grimmkin and returns the flame to the child. The child grows. Grimm waits. The heart is fed by progression the wanderer experiences as exploration. There is a gentle but unsettling poetry in the idea that a fallen kingdom still has nightmares to harvest. Hallownest is not merely dead stone. It still dreams. It still remembers. It still contains fear, longing, failure, and flame. The Grimm troop arrives after the great tragedy, not to repair it, not to mourn it, but to consume what remains useful. This is why Brum calls the harvest a desecration. He sees Hallownest as a dead, quiet kingdom that should be left in peace. To gather its nightmare flame is, in his view, to disturb the dead. That makes Brum's rebellion more than personal fatigue. It is also an ethical protest. He is not only tired of serving the ritual, he believes the ritual violates the place it feeds from. As a sleepy image, imagine those red flames scattered through Hallownest like embers left in old rooms. A flame in a ruined passage, a flame near stone, a flame in the dark, each one waiting for the Grimm child, each one a tiny piece of nightmare pulled from the kingdom's long sleep. The knight moves quietly, the child follows, the flame is taken, the map grows a little emptier, and somewhere in Dirtmouth, behind red cloth and music, Grimm is waiting for the next act. Beyond all of this is the nightmare realm itself, felt more than mapped, known more by pulse and flame than by road or wall. The nightmare realm is one of the most mysterious parts of Hallownest's cosmology. The world does not give us a full map of it. We do not walk through it the way we walk through the City of Tears or Deepnest. We glimpse it through Grimm, through the nightmare heart, through seer's words, through Godhome titles, through red flame and ritual. It is connected to dream, but it is not simply the same as the dream realm. The seer gives one of the clearest clues. She speaks of the expanse of dream being split in the past with one realm now staying apart, and describes the darkest reaches beating red as the nightmare's heart. The exact poetry matters less than the structure. Dream was once one expanse, and now nightmare is a part. The nightmare heart belongs to that separated red domain. Nightmare King Grimm's Godhome title also points toward the heart as a deepest power. The in-world clues gather around the same truth. The nightmare's heart is a higher being, responsible for the ritual and the power controlling the troop. Grimm and Grimmchild are connected to it as spawn or vessels. This is one of the strongest truths the Red story gives us. But what exactly is the nightmare realm like? Here we must be careful. We know it exists. We know the troop travels through dream from it. We know the nightmare heart is its deepest power. We know Nightmare King Grimm is fought in a nightmare space where the heart appears in the background. We know the realm is separate from the broader dream realm. Beyond that, the world leaves atmosphere instead of architecture. That absence is part of its power. The nightmare realm is not scary because the world hands us a textbook. It is scary because it is red, rhythmic, hungry, and old. It is scary because it has a ritual that can outlast kingdoms. It is scary because its servants arrive when called by a lantern and vanish when the anchor is destroyed. It is scary because it seems to feed not on living bodies directly, but on the nightmare residue of fallen places. In Hallow Nest, dreams are not soft illusions. They can preserve gods, they can trap memories. They can contain boss fights, ghosts, essence, infection, and final confrontations. The nightmare realm is the red underside of that system. Dreamer's hunger, dreamer's performance, dreamer's fire. This is why Grimm's story feels connected to the rest of Hallow Nest without being just another infection story. He is not a servant of the Radiance. His colour, music and ritual all mark him as something different. The Radiance is orange light, forgotten worship, infection, and memory forcing itself back into minds. The Nightmare Heart is red flame, repeated ritual, and a cycle of death and rebirth. Both are dream powers, but they do not feel the same. One of the loveliest ways to describe the Nightmare Realm for sleep is to imagine it as a place behind a curtain. The dream realm may be a vast expanse of memory and essence, but somewhere in its deepest red distance, the curtain is drawn. Behind it, a heart beats, not loudly enough to wake the world, just steadily, patiently, waiting for lanterns, waiting for fallen kingdoms, waiting for the troop to return with flame. No map marker can fully show it. No bench is there for the wanderer. Only the stage, the fire, the child, the father and the heart. Behind Grimm, deeper than Grimm, waits the Nightmare's heart. If Grimm is the face of the troop, the Nightmare's heart is its source. The heart appears visually during the Nightmare King Grimm fight, beating in the background like a red celestial organ. It has no ordinary dialogue. It does not explain itself. It does not plead, threaten, or bargain. But other sources in the world tell us enough to understand its role. The Nightmare's heart is the power sustained by the ritual. The Grimm troop serves it. The ritual prolongs it. The Grimm child is grown as part of its continuation. Grimm is slain, so he can be reborn anew through the child. This is not just a family drama. It is a cosmic maintenance cycle. The phrase higher being is important here, but it should be used carefully. The Hallow Nest identifies the Nightmare's heart as a higher being, based on in-world evidence such as the God Home title and the White Lady's recognition of the Scarlet Heart and its spawn. The world itself tends to reveal higher beings indirectly through dream, worship, power and recognition, rather than through a neat category list. The heart belongs in that highest layer of the story. Not a normal creature, not a simple boss, but a deep power tied to dream and nightmare. Unlike the Radiance, the heart does not appear to be trying to reclaim Hallow Nest specifically. It is not presented as the cause of the infection. Instead, it is itinerant through its servants. The troop travels to fallen kingdoms. They answer lanterns. They harvest nightmare flame. That makes the heart feel less like a conqueror and more like a parasite, scavenger, or ritual god. Which word you prefer is mystery. The truth is that it is fed by the ritual and sustained by the cycle. This distinction matters. Grimm did not cause Hallow Nest's fall. The world does not show that. It would also be too strong to say the troop only ever visits places after they are ruined because they are innocent mourners. The story frames them as consumers of the flames of a kingdom's fall. They use ruin. They profit from nightmare. Whether they cause ruin elsewhere is not confirmed. In Hallow Nest, they arrive after the kingdom is already devastated. The Nightmare Heart also gives Grimm's elegance a darker meaning. Grimm may be beautiful, but beauty can be a mask for appetite. The music, the stage, the bows, The audience, the rewards, all of it serves a ritual whose end is the heart's preservation. This is not performance for its own sake. It is performance as feeding. And yet, because hollowness is subtle, the heart is not reduced to a cartoon evil. It is alien. It is an ancient red force trying to continue. Like many higher beings in hollowness, it survives through relationships with lesser creatures, worshippers, servants, vessels, children, performers, acolytes. It is less a person than a system with a pulse. Let the heart be distant. Do not imagine it as something lunging toward you. Imagine it far behind the stage, deep in the red dark, a slow beat, a glow, a presence. Every flame brought to the Grimm child is one more ember returning to that beat. Every bow is one more movement in the same old choreography. Every fallen kingdom is another verse. The heart does not need to hurry. It has had time. It has ritual. It has servants who travel through dream. And for one brief visit to Hallownest, it has the night. And among the red masks and old roles, Grimm is the tired musician who begins to hear the sorrow underneath the song. Grimm may be the most human-feeling figure in the Grimm troupe, even though of course Hallownest's people are not human at all. He is found inside Grimm's tent playing music. His instrument is part of the troupe's atmosphere, and his first role seems simple. He points the night toward the master and encourages the collection of flame. At first he appears to be just another loyal servant, but as the ritual progresses, Grimm becomes the crack in the performance. After Grimm is defeated, Grimm appears in distant village in Deepnest. This location is important. Deepnest is dark, tangled and unsettling. It is far from the theatrical safety of the tent. Away from Grimm's stage, Grimm speaks more openly. He begins to question the ritual. He does not approve of it repeating endlessly. He sees himself and the troopers bound to it. He believes the harvest profanes Hallownest's dead quiet. Then he offers the night another path. Destroy the nightmare lantern and banish the troop. Grimm's rebellion is not loud. It is not heroic in the bright triumphant sense. It is weary. He knows it is painful to defy the master. He does not pretend the choice is simple. If the knight completes the ritual instead, Grimm says he will bear them no hatred as long as they continue without regret. That line makes him feel unusually gentle for a member of such a sinister group. He is not asking for revenge. He is asking for release. His most famous thought, the idea that a song that never ends is no song at all, is one of the best summaries of the entire Grimm ritual. A ritual repeated forever may preserve a power, but it also drains meaning from the performance. A song needs shape, a dance needs a final step, a life needs an ending to be a life instead of a mechanism. If the night helps Grimm, they meet him at the nightmare lantern in the howling cliffs. He prepares the lantern so it can be destroyed. When the night breaks it, the troop is banished from Hallownest. Later Grimm is gone, and Nim appears in Dirtmouth. Nim resembles Grimm but seems amnesiac, free from the troop's burden and yet disconnected from his former self. This outcome is beautifully unsettling. Did Grimm escape? Did the ritual erase him into someone new? Is Nim a healed Grimm, or a Grimm without the memories that made his choice meaningful? The world does not answer in a plain way. The truths are simple. Banishment removes the troop. Grimm disappears, Nim appears, and the carefree melody charm can replace Grimmchild. The mystery is soft and sad. Freedom may have cost Grimm his old identity. Grimm makes the Grimm story morally alive. Without him, the ritual might feel like a cool, dark ritual with a hard boss at the end. With him, it becomes a question. Should the cycle continue because it is ancient and beautiful? Or should it end because beauty without freedom becomes a cage? For sleep, we can listen to Grimm's accordion from outside the tent. It is a small sound under the larger music. A tired tune, a servant's tune, a song played by someone who has repeated the same role too many times and has begun to wonder whether silence might be kinder. The tent glows red, the master waits, the child burns, and Grimm, quietly, thinks of ending the song. Divine waits nearby in her own smaller tent, strange and hungry, part of the same red arrival. Divine is easy to treat as comic relief, but she fits the Grimm troop's themes very well. She arrives with the troop and sets up her own smaller tent in Dartmouth. Her role in the journey is to upgrade the fragile charms into their unbreakable versions. The knight must have a fragile charm equipped, offer it to her, and then pay a large amount of geo for its return in a stronger form. The prices are enormous. A mountain of geo for unbreakable greed, an even greater offering for unbreakable heart, and the heaviest price of all, for unbreakable strength. Together, her bargains become one of the deepest little hungers in Dartmouth. But the method is what makes her unforgettable. Divine eats the charms, she literally consumes them, and later returns them in a transformed state. The process is grotesque, funny, useful, and thematically perfect. The Grimm troop is built around consumption. It consumes the flames of fallen kingdoms. The nightmare heart is fed. Grimmchild grows by absorbing fire. Divine, in her own smaller side story, consumes fragile things and makes them unbreakable. She turns weakness into permanence through appetite. Her connection to Legita adds another strange thread. Legita is the original seller of fragile charms. Divine can smell him from above, and after the knight upgrades all the fragile charms and follows the related sequence, Legita goes to seek her. Later, his claws can be seen in Divine's tent, implying that she has eaten him, or at least consumed part of him. The world does not linger on it. It simply lets the image sit there. This is classic Hallowness darkness. A shop interaction becomes body horror. A charm upgrade becomes a small story about attraction, hunger, transformation, and disappearance. Divine also matters in its rhythm to the wanderer's choice. If the troop is banished before the knight upgrades the fragile charms, Divine disappears with the troop. If she has eaten a charm when banishment happens, the charm is left behind where her tent was, still fragile. Completing the ritual does not necessarily remove Divine immediately. She leaves after specific conditions involving upgrading all 3 charms in the Legita sequence, so the Wanderer's timing affects what remains available. For a story, we do not need to make Divine more central than she is. She is not the Nightmare Heart, she's not the leader, but she is a member of the troop, and she shows that the troop's red logic extends beyond Grimm's stage. Everything around the troop is hungry. Everything transforms by being consumed. Flames, charms, father, child, kingdom, song, even upgrades have teeth. Sleepily, we can imagine Divine's tent as a little side chamber of the same red carnival. Not the grand stage, but a smaller appetite beside it. A place where something delicate goes in, and something durable comes out, changed by a process the knight would probably rather not think about too long. And then, when the troop leaves, the tent is gone. The red cloth is gone. The bargain is gone. only the result remains if the knight paid the price in time. If the knight completes the ritual, the final great challenge is Nightmare King Grimm. To reach him in the Sommel Path, the knight must gather the final flames and return with Grimchild equipped. The knight then uses the Dream Nail on Grimm, entering his nightmare. This is an important detail. The final confrontation is not simply against Grimm's body in the physical tent. It is against his dream form, the Nightmare King, in the presence of the nightmare's heart. Nightmare King Grimm is one of the most famous optional bosses in Hallownest. In the rhythm of the journey, he is much faster than Troopmaster Grimm. Many of his attacks are altered versions of the first fight, but made sharper, quicker, and more punishing. He deals 2 masks of damage with most attacks. The fight is a test of rhythm and patience. Wanderers often describe it as nearly impossible at first, and then, after practice, as one of the fairest and most beautiful battles in the world. That feeling is not separate from the story. The Nightmare King is ritual at full intensity. The first Grimm fight is performance, the second is revelation. The stage is no longer merely a tent with an audience. It is nightmare itself, with the heart behind him. The father must burn. The child must be fed. The bearer must prove capable of completing the cycle. When the knight defeats Nightmare King Grimm, the ritual is completed. The Grimchild reaches its final form. The troop's main presence vanishes from Dirtmouth. The heart's cycle continues through the living scarlet flame. This is often called the completion path, and for many wanderers it feels satisfying because it includes the full boss fight. But story-wise, completion is not liberation. The ritual is fulfilled, not destroyed. The nightmare heart is not killed. The cycle is sustained. That does not mean the wanderer has done something cartoonishly evil. Hallownest is subtler than that. The knight may not fully understand the heart's nature. Grimm presents the ritual beautifully. The Grimchild has been carried and raised. The ritual answers skill with closure. But beneath the beauty, the ritual ending preserves the system Grimm wanted to break. This is why the 2 endings remain interesting years later. One gives the wanderer the masterpiece boss fight and a completed Grimchild. The other gives a quieter moral rupture. The wanderer is not choosing between an obvious good ending and an obvious bad ending. They are choosing what kind of ending matters more, finishing the performance or stopping the song. For sleep, we can make Nightmare King Grimm less frantic by hearing the fighter's rhythm. 4 flame pillars, one after another, a cloak of spikes rising from the floor, a sudden dash, an uppercut, red embers drifting down, the knight not panicking, only moving, Grimm not raging, only dancing, the heart not shouting, only beating. And after the final strike, the stage dims, the child remains, the troop departs. The ritual, somewhere beyond sight, has survived. The banishment ending begins with Brum's doubt. After Troop Master Grimm is defeated and the ritual advances, Brum can be found in distant village. He offers the knight a way to stop the ritual in Hallownest. If the knight follows him to the Howling Cliffs and destroys the Nightmare Lantern, the anchor is broken. The troop is banished from the kingdom. This route prevents the Nightmare King Grimm fight in that saves normal world state, though Godhome later allows the Wanderer to fight bosses in its own way. It also causes Grimchild to be replaced by Carefree Melody, obtained from Nim in Dirtmouth. Nim is the amnesiac figure who appears after the banishment, resembling Brum but without the same memories or burden. Carefree Melody is a fascinating charm because it changes the emotional texture of the reward. Grimmchild is active, fiery, and tied to the ritual. Carefree Melody is defensive, chance-based, and musical. It can block damage after the knight has been hit enough times. Instead of a growing scarlet child, the knight carries a song of release. The name matters, Carefree Melody. After a story about endless ritual, coerced service, and a song that never ends, the reward is a melody freed from that red machinery. It is not as dramatic as the Nightmare King fight. It is not as prestigious in the same way. But thematically it is beautiful. Banishment does not necessarily destroy the nightmare heart. The world does not show the heart dying. It breaks the troop's anchor to Hallownest. Broom says the troop will be banished from this kingdom, and the master shall not return here again. That wording matters. The Wanderer is not ending Nightmare everywhere. They are ending this visitation. They are letting Hallownest rest. That makes banishment a local mercy rather than a cosmic victory. Hallownest is already full of unresolved suffering. The Radiance, the vessels, the failed kingdom, the infected husks, the trapped dreams, all of it is heavy. Brumsroot says, in effect, let this dead place not be harvested again. Let the flame go. Let the tent vanish. Let the music stop. And then Nim appears. Nim's presence complicates the piece. If he is Brum freed, he is freed at the cost of memory. If he is someone else made from Brum's remains, the outcome is even stranger. The world does not clarify. What it does give us is a gentle figure in Dirtmouth, playing music without the oppressive weight of the troop. The red ritual is gone, replaced by a softer tune. This ending feels like blowing out a candle. Not the whole red cosmos, not every nightmare, just one lantern in the cliffs. The anchor breaks, the tents vanish. Dirtmouth grows quiet again. The old town exhales, and somewhere, perhaps Brum's long song finally ends. Grimm and the Radiance both belong to the dream side of Hallownest's story, but they are not the same kind of force. The Radiance is tied to forgotten worship, infection, memory and light. She is the old moth god whose memory was suppressed when Hallownest turned toward the Pale King. Her return spreads through dreams and minds as infection. She is bright, burning, orange, and furious with remembrance. The nightmare heart is tied to nightmare, flame, ritual, and renewal. Its servants travel by dream at the call of lanterns. They feed from fallen kingdoms. They do not infect Hallownest in the same way. They do not build an empire there. They arrive, harvest, perform, and leave. This difference helps explain why the Grimm troop content feels like a self-contained dark fairy tale inside Hallownest. It uses the same metaphysical foundation of dream and essence, but it has its own mythology. Red instead of orange, circus instead of temple, song instead of scream, recurrence instead of outbreak. Both powers also involve memory and survival, but in different emotional registers. The Radiance wants to be remembered and worshipped again. The Nightmare Heart wants to be sustained through ritual. The Radiance's tragedy is replacement and suppression. The Heart's horror is endless continuity. Grimm's elegance makes the Heart's system seductive. The Radiance is overwhelming and hostile by the time we confront her. Grimm, meanwhile, welcomes us. He gives us a role. He bows. He rewards us. He makes the Wanderer feel like a participant in something beautiful. That is why his ritual can be more morally slippery. The ritual feels good to complete. The boss feels good to master. The music is magnificent. The reward is alive and loyal. Only later do we sit with what we have helped preserve. This does not mean Grimm is worse than the Radiants. It is simply the shape their stories make beside each other. The Radiance is apocalypse. Grimm is ceremony. The Radiance burns through minds. Grimm turns hunger into dance. Both images can fade into colour. Orange light far below, red flame at the edge of dream. One ancient power trying to return through infection. Another ancient power continuing through performance. Hallowness lies between them, small and ruined, full of echoes. The night moves through it silently, and the wanderer lying still now does not need to decide which god is stronger, only to notice that Hallownest's dreams are never empty. They are inhabited, they remember, they hunger. One of the most interesting mysteries of the Grimm troupe is that they are a kind of travelling funeral procession for dead kingdoms. This is mystery, but it is grounded in the language of the ritual. Grimm is associated with consuming the flames of a kingdom's fall. Grimm refers to Hallownest as a dead kingdom and sees the harvest as a profanation. The troupe does not arrive in a thriving capital to entertain citizens. It arrives in Dirtmouth above a ruined world. A circus usually means performance, spectacle, and temporary wonder. A funeral means mourning, ritual, and the handling of death. The Grimm troupe is both. It comes with music, masks, tents, and fire. But the material of its performance is the nightmare left behind by collapse. This dual identity is what makes it so haunting. Are the troupe mourners, parasites, priests, performers, or scavengers? The safest answer is that they are ritual servants of the nightmare heart. The richer answer is that they resemble all of those things at once. They do not rebuild Hallownest. They do not cure infection. They do not free the trapped dead. They gather flame. Their ritual turns a kingdom suffering into fuel for something ancient and red. That is not mourning in the compassionate sense, but it is still a recognition of death. The troupe only has meaning because something has fallen. This helps explain why their arrival in Dirtmouth feels both exciting and wrong. Wanderers love the content because it is beautiful. New music, new bosses, new charms, an unforgettable atmosphere. Elderbug dislikes it because, from inside the world, the beauty is ominous. A funeral circus has come to town and the town sits on a grave. We can imagine the troupe crossing impossible distances through dream, not walking on roads, but moving from ruin to ruin wherever a lantern calls. A dead kingdom here, a fallen kingdom there, a red tent rising beneath a quiet sky, music beginning where silence should be. The performance is always new for the place it visits, but for the troupe it is old, very old. Old enough that Broom is tired, old enough that Grimm speaks as though every role has already been written, old enough that the heart still beats without needing to explain itself. The Grimm troupe is obsessed with presentation. Masks, cloaks, tents, music, bows, titles, audience, stage. Everything about them is theatrical. In Hallownest, masks already matter deeply. The knight's face is a mask-like shell. The Hollow Knight's identity is bound to its vessel body. Many bugs in Hallownest wear or possess shells, faces, and outward forms that blur the line between body and symbol. Grimm's mask-like face and red eyes make him feel almost ceremonial. He is not merely wearing a costume. He is a costume that has become a being. His body language is exaggerated like stage movement. His cloak becomes wings, spikes, bats, or fire. He is readable because he performs his attacks with clear poses. Even his danger is stylized. This is not only art direction, It is story language. Grimm's identity is inseparable from role: troop master, nightmare king, father, vessel, performer, servant. These titles do not simply describe him, they compose him. Grimm's possible transformation into Nim, if banishment is chosen, makes identity even more fragile. Remove the ritual, and the servant may lose the memories that made him Brum. Complete the ritual, and Grimm is destroyed so that the child may become the next continuation. In both paths, identity is not fixed. It is something the ritual can rearrange. The troop's masks therefore feel less like decoration and more like a warning. In the nightmare realm, perhaps everyone is a role. The master performs mastery. The musician performs obedience until he cannot. The child performs innocence until time makes it something else. The knight performs the bearer of flame, silent as always, carrying out another ancient system's need. This is a careful mystery, but it fits Hallownest's wider world. The Pale King names vessels by purpose. The dreamers sleep as seals. The Mantis Lords rule through combat ritual. The Soul Master becomes title and obsession. Again and again, identity in Hallownest is tied to function. Grimm's world takes that to its most theatrical extreme. Imagine the red tent as a place where every shadow has a cue. A bow, a step, a burst of flame, a pause, a strike, a vanish, a return. Nothing is casual, nothing is wasted. Even the silence before the fight feels staged, and the knight, who never speaks, fits perfectly. A silent protagonist inside a ritual performance, a little void beneath a red spotlight. Christopher Larkin's music is one of the reasons Grimm's story feels so alive. The Grimm Troop theme is not just background, it teaches us how to feel the troop before we fully understand them. The accordion, the rhythm, the theatrical strings, the sense of dance and danger all tell the wanderer, this is a performance, but it is not safe. Brum's music matters too. His accordion can be heard around the tent, and his identity as a musician gives extra weight to his line about a song that never ends. If a warrior said that line, it would still work. But from Brum, it becomes intimate. He understands music from inside. He knows endless repetition is not the same as meaning. The Nightmare King fight intensifies the musical logic. The faster pace, the heightened arrangement, the feeling of frantic elegance. The music becomes the ritual at full burn. Many wanderers learn the fight almost musically, responding to patterns, tempo, and anticipation. Grimm's battle is not random chaos. It is a score the body learns. This is why Grimm remains memorable even to wanderers who struggle with him. The fight is hard, but it has rhythm. Once learned, it can feel less like wrestling with unfairness and more like joining the dance. That is exactly right for the story. The knight is not just defeating an enemy. The knight is participating in a ritual performance. The music also makes the banishment route feel different. Nim's presence and carefree melody point towards song after the troop, song without the same red command. The idea of melody becomes a moral symbol. Music can bind, but it can also release. Let the music slow down in your mind, not the boss tempo, not the panic of dodging. Just the low, swaying quality of a distant circus tune carried over Dirtmouth. The kind of tune that makes the town feel unfamiliar. The kind of tune Elderbug hears and mistrusts. The kind of tune Brum plays because he had played it for a very long time. Then, softer still. Imagine that tune ending, not abruptly. Not violently, just reaching its final note, a song that finally becomes a song because it is allowed to stop. Grimm is one of the most beloved bosses in Hallownest, and there are good reasons for that. First, the presentation is extraordinary. The troupe arrives dramatically. Grimm's design is instantly recognisable. The tent, the lighting, the audience, the bow and the music all make the fight feel special before a single attack is thrown. Second, the rhythms are clean. Grimm is difficult, especially for newer wanderers, but his moves are readable. He punishes panic. He rewards patience. Nightmare King Grimm takes this even further, pushing the same design language to an extreme. It can feel overwhelming at first, but eventually the wanderer learns that each attack has an answer. Third, Grimm's story has just enough clarity and just enough mystery. The ritual has a shape, the heart has a role, Grimm has his sorrow. But the oldest origins remain in shadow. We do not know exactly how old the Nightmare Heart is, how many kingdoms the troupe has visited, or what Grimm personally thinks beneath the ritual mask. That uncertainty keeps the story alive. Fourth, Grimm is stylish without being shallow. Many characters are cool because they look powerful. Grimm is cool because his style is the story. His theatricality is not decoration pasted onto a boss. It is the ritual's entire language. And finally, Grimm gives the wanderer a feeling Hallownest does not often give, being invited. Hallownest usually resists the night. It blocks, hides, decays, attacks, or forgets. Grimm welcomes the night into a role. That welcome is dangerous, but it is still a welcome. The wanderer becomes part of the performance. That is seductive. It is also suspicious. And that tension is exactly why he works. We can let admiration sit beside unease. We can love Grimm's fight and still understand Brumm's sadness. We can enjoy the ritual's beauty and still see the cruelty of endless repetition. Hallownest often asks us to hold both feelings at once. A beautiful boss can serve a hungry god. A graceful bow can begin a sacrifice. A child can be cute and still be the future vessel of a nightmare cycle. This is the richness of Grimm's story. It does not ask us to stop loving him. It asks us to notice what we are loving. The Grimm troupe ritual echoes the main story in several quiet ways. In the main story, a higher power threatens the kingdom through dream and memory. A ruler uses a child vessel system to contain that power. The result is sacrifice, failure, and repetition. The night arrives later, moving through the ruins and deciding how to resolve what remains. In the Grimm troupe ritual, a higher power is sustained through dream and nightmare. A child vessel system continues that power. The result is sacrifice, ritual, and repetition. The night arrives later, carrying the child and deciding whether to complete or break the cycle in Hallownest. The parallels are not one-to-one, and we should not force them too hard. The Radiance and Nightmare Heart are different beings. The Pale King's Vessel Project and Grimm's Ritual have different goals, but the structural rhyme is real. Hallownest keeps returning to the cost of preserving power through children. This is why the White Lady's dialogue about Grimchild is so important. She recognises the irony. Her spawn, the Night, helps grow the spawn of the Scarlet Heart. The world briefly lets two systems of inheritance look at each other. Pale vesselhood and red nightmare succession. It is one of those moments that makes Hallownest's world feel larger than the map. The White Lady does not need a long exposition dump. She recognises the pattern because she has lived inside another version of it. She knows what it means for powerful beings to continue themselves through offspring, vessels, and sacrifice. Grimm's ritual also mirrors the wanderer's own desire for completion. Many wanderers want to fight every boss, collect every charm, finish every ritual, and see every ending. The ritual uses that desire. It says, gather the flames, upgrade the child, fight the master, fight the nightmare king, complete the cycle. The wanderer wants completion, and the heart benefits from completion. That is not an accusation. It is good world design and good dark fantasy. The wanderer's drive becomes part of the story's moral texture. Banishment, by contrast, asks the wanderer to accept incompletion. No nightmare king fight in the ordinary path. No final Grimm child. A different charm. A quieter ending. To break the song, the wanderer must let go of the most spectacular performance. That is brilliant. Think of two cycles turning in the dark, one pale, one red, one built to seal a forgotten light, one built to feed a nightmare heart. The night walks between them, silent and small, but somehow important enough to alter both. No wonder Hallownest feels so heavy. So many ancient things ask small bodies to carry them. Now let us walk through the Grimm story again, slowly from beginning to end, as if we are remembering it in the order the night might live it. The night climbs to the howling cliffs. The wind moves over old stone. Hidden walls break. A strange chamber appears. There is a dead acolyte, a lantern, and the sense of something waiting. The night lights the nightmare lantern, perhaps not fully knowing what call has been sent. The call travels through dream. In Dirtmouth, red tents appear. Elderbug worries. The town's familiar quiet is disturbed by music and masks. The night enters the main tent. Grimm appears in smoke and scarlet light. He recognizes that the night has called the troop and offers a role in the ritual. He gives the Grimm child. The child follows. The map reveals flames. The night travels through old Hallownest, now marked by red. Grimmkin wait in places the wanderer may already know. The night defeats them and gathers their flames. The Grimm child consumes them and grows. The troop master watches the ritual progress. After enough flame has been gathered, Grimm fights the night. The duel is elegant, formal, and theatrical. The Grimmkin audience surrounds the stage. Grimm bows if the night bows. The battle is difficult but rhythmic, a dance of fire and cloak. Grimm is defeated, but the ritual is not over. The Grimm child grows stronger. More flames appear. Stronger Grimmkin guard them. The night gathers more. The red system deepens. Then Broom appears away from the stage in distant village. His doubts become clear. He is tired of the endless ritual. He sees the troop as bound to it. He believes the harvest violates Hallownest's rest. He asks the night to help destroy the lantern and banish the troop. Here, the path divides. If the night helps Broom, they return to the howling cliffs. Broom prepares the lantern. The night breaks it. The anchor is destroyed. The troop vanishes from Dirtmouth. Grimmchild is gone, replaced by carefree melody. Nim appears, resembling Broom but lacking his memory. The song changes. Hallownest is left in peace from that ritual, at least here, at least now. If the night continues the ritual, they gather the last flames. They return to Grimm. With Grimmchild equipped, they use the dream nail and enter Nightmare. There, before the Nightmare Heart, they face Nightmare King Grimm. The fight is faster, harsher, redder, and more intense. The father burns, the child is fed. When Nightmare King Grimm is defeated, the ritual is complete. Grimmchild reaches its final form. The troop leaves. The heart's cycle continues. That is the full ritual shape. A lantern, a summoning, a child, a harvest, a performance, a doubt, a choice, a song completed or a song ended. The nightmare realm may be separate from the dream realm, but its strongest visible law is repetition. The ritual repeats, the troop travels, the lantern calls, the flames are gathered, the child grows, the father is burned, the heart is sustained. Then, somewhere else, someday else, the pattern can begin again. This is different from ordinary immortality. Grimm does not simply live forever as one unchanging body. The ritual seems to renew him through succession. The old vessel is sacrificed, the child carries the flame forward, and the heart continues. It is immortality through theatre and inheritance. This makes Grimm both powerful and trapped. If he is the master only so long as the role needs a master, then his grandeur is also his prison. He is magnificent because the ritual makes him magnificent. He is doomed because the ritual requires his death. Grimm sees the prison. The wanderer sees the magnificence. The heart receives the benefit. That triangle is the emotional center of the story. In many dark fantasy stories, the villain wants to avoid death. Grimm's story is more unusual. Death is built into the system. Grimm's destruction is not failure. It is the required movement by which the system survives. The nightmare does not fear the death of the father. It uses it. Heard softly, this can become almost meditative. A cycle does not rush. It turns. It completes a shape. Lantern, flame, child, father, heart. Over and over in fallen kingdoms and red dreams through music and masks. A song repeated too long becomes sorrow. A dance repeated too long becomes duty. A ritual repeated too long becomes a cage. And somewhere inside that cage, Grimm begins to listen for silence. One reason Grimm is so compelling is that he is polite. He greets the night with elegance. He frames the ritual beautifully. He rewards participation. He bows. He fights with honor. He never feels crude or mindless. Compared with many enemies in Hallownest, Grimm seems almost civilized. But courtesy is not innocence. This is one of the quiet lessons of the Grimm troupe. Something can be beautiful, respectful, and still predatory. A ritual can have rules and still be cruel. A master can bow before using you. A stage can be lovely while serving a hungry heart. That does not make Grimm flatly hypocritical. It makes him frighteningly complete. He is not pretending to be theatrical. He truly is theatrical. He's not pretending to value performance. He truly does. The danger is not that the beauty is fake. The danger is that the beauty is real and still part of the hunger. Hallownest understands this very well. The most haunting things in the world are rarely ugly in a simple way. The city of tears is beautiful and ruined. The abyss is horrifying and sublime. The radiance is majestic and devastating. Grimm is graceful and bound to a nightmare god. For sleep we can hold that gently. No need to judge him in a hurry. No need to flatten him into hero or villain. Let him bow in the red light. Let the music rise, let the fire move. Let Grimm's doubts remain nearby, like a softer counter-melody. The story is better when both are true. Grimm is wonderful. Grimm is dangerous. The ritual is beautiful. The ritual is wrong enough that one of its own musicians wants it to fail. Godhome complicates Hallownest's bosses by turning them into forms of worship, memory, and combat challenge. Nightmare King Grimm can still appear in Godhome even after banishment, within halls of combat, reverence and remembered power. That echoes not the same thing as the troop returning to Dirtmouth. The broken lantern remains broken in Hallownest, while Godhome keeps its own strange dream logic. In the ritual, banishment stops the ritual in Hallownest and removes the troop. In Godhome, bosses can be encountered as godly or remembered forms within the Godseeker's strange spiritual arena. This does not necessarily mean the troop physically returned to Dirtmouth. Godhome operates by its own dream logic. Nightmare King Grimm's presence there reinforces his status as a being of great power and reverence. The Godseeker's titles and framing treat bosses as gods or godlike combat ideals. Grimm's connection to the Nightmare Heart becomes part of that higher plane of recognition. But Godhome should not be used carelessly to rewrite the ritual. If Broom helps banish the troop, the lantern is still broken in Hallownest. Nim still appears. The local ritual is still stopped. Godhome lets the Wanderer fight, remember, worship and test, but it does not undo the emotional meaning of Broom's path. Godhome is like a hall of echoes. The stage can be recreated even after the tent is gone. The dance can be remembered even after the lantern breaks. The Nightmare King can still be faced in a place where combat memories become gods. That is very much like Hallownest. Nothing is ever only over. Some things end in the world and continue in dream. The dead acolyte in the Howling Cliffs is easy to overlook, but it quietly frames the entire ritual. An acolyte is a follower, a servant, someone devoted to a ritual or power. The presence of a dead acolyte near the Nightmare Lantern implies that the troop's reach preceded its visible arrival. Hallownest did not randomly produce the lantern. Someone connected to the ritual was there, hidden in the cliffs, and did not survive. We should not invent a full biography for this figure. The world does not provide one. But we can say that the acolyte's corpse gives the summoning a sense of age and cost. The ritual requires servants. It leaves bodies. It waits in secret places. When the knight lights the lantern, they are not discovering a harmless antique. They are reactivating a system someone died beside. That is one of Hallownest's great storytelling strengths. The smallest environmental details carry moral weight. A dead bug by a lantern can suggest devotion, failure, secrecy, and danger without a single long cutscene. Imagine passing that corpse without fear now. The wind outside, the hidden room, the lantern dim, the acolyte still. The knight raises the nail, a strike, a flicker, a red glow. Somewhere the troop hears. Grimm's first speech frames the knight's role as if the lantern has already written the compact. The knight lit the lantern, and therefore the role is cast. This raises an interesting question. Did the knight consent? In the journey, the Wanderer chooses to activate the ritual. In story, the knight may not understand what lighting the lantern entails. Grimm treats the action as enough. The call was made, the troop came, the ritual begins. This is another reason Broom's perspective matters. The troop's systems may be formal, but formality is not freedom. The compact is written in scarlet fire, not negotiated in plain language. The child is given, the flames appear, the rolling closes the night. Of course, the Wanderer can walk away for a time. Hallownest's structure allows delay. But the ritual's language implies something older than ordinary choice. Rituals often work that way in myth. Light the candle, open the door, speak the name, Ring the bell, and you have entered the pattern whether or not you knew its full cost. The nightmare lantern is exactly that kind of threshold. This is not meant to be alarming. It is just a soft observation about fairy tale logic. The knight touched the red thing in the hidden place, and the red world answered. The story began because a boundary was crossed, and now, very gently, we can keep walking through it. The nightmare flames collected during the ritual are not ordinary fire. They are found through the Grimm child, guarded by Grimmkin, and described as flame in dream. They are the burning essence the troop harvests from Hallownest. They function as fuel for the Grimm child and ultimately for the heart's ritual. What exactly is inside a nightmare flame? The world does not provide a laboratory answer, but thematically they feel like concentrated fear, memory and residue from a fallen kingdom. They are the red equivalent of essence, tied not to peaceful memory, but to nightmare. This is why Hallownest can still feed the ritual after its fall. The living society is gone, but its dreams are not empty. The dead have left traces. The kingdom's collapse has left fuel. Brum's objection becomes clearer here. If the flames are dream residue of a dead kingdom, taking them may be like disturbing graves. The troop does not only visit ruins, it extracts from them. Imagine each flame as a tiny red memory, not bright enough to light a room, just enough to tremble in the dark. The Grimm child approaches. The flame is absorbed. The room quiets. One ember gone. One step closer to the heart. The father-child structure of Grimm's ritual is one of its darkest elements. The Grimm child grows by collecting flame. Then the Nightmare King must be defeated so that the old Grimm can be reborn through the child. This is not family in a tender, ordinary sense. It is family as ritual machinery. The word father is not always used in the way a human family would use it, but the hunter's journal line about burning the father and feeding the child captures the symbolic relationship. The old form must be consumed so the new form can continue. This connects Grimm to Hallownest's larger questions about parenthood. The Pale King and White Lady produce vessels for a kingdom-saving plan. Hera has Hornet as part of a bargain tied to Deepnest and the Dreamers. The Nightmare Heart produces or uses Grimm and Grimmchild for its own continuation. In this world, children often carry the weight of adult systems. The Grimmchild is not asked whether it wants to become Grimm. Grimm is not shown escaping the need to be sacrificed. The ritual defines both of them. Let this be less heavy now, more like a shape drawn in red thread. The old flame passes to the small flame. The small flame grows. The old dancer falls. The new dancer waits. A cycle is tender only from a distance. Up close, it has teeth. Banishment feels merciful because it lets Hallownest rest. It does not solve every problem. It does not cure the infection. It does not undo the Pale King's choices. It does not destroy the Nightmare Heart everywhere. But it says, this dead kingdom does not have to be harvested again. That is enough to matter. In a world filled with enormous cosmic stakes, small mercies can feel profound. Saving a grub matters. Listening to a ghost matters. Opening a stag station matters. Helping Brum break the lantern matters. The banishment path is not the spectacular path, but it is the path that listens to the tired musician. It trusts the one member of the troupe who says the song has gone on too long. It trades grandeur for quiet, for the tired mind that quiet is precious. We can imagine Dirtmouth after the troupe is gone, the space where the tent stood. the familiar air returning, Nim's gentler music nearby, Elderbug perhaps less unsettled, the well still open, the kingdom below still dark, but one red hunger removed from its edge. Not all peace is complete. Sometimes peace is just one lantern broken. The ritual ending feels compelling because it completes the artwork. The ritual builds toward Nightmare King Grimm with such elegance that many wanderers feel the story would be unfinished without that fight. The music, the rhythms, the escalating Grimmkin, the growing child, the Dreamnail entrance, it all points toward the red final stage. Defeating Nightmare. King Grimm can feel like mastering fear itself. The wanderer who once panicked begins to move calmly. The fight becomes a dance. That personal transformation mirrors the ritual's theatrical structure. The wanderer becomes worthy of the performance by learning its rhythm. This is why the ritual ending is not easily dismissed. Even if it preserves the heart's cycle, it offers one of the world's purest experiences of discipline and beauty. The emotional truth of mastering such a dance is powerful. Grimm's story uses that power. The wanderer completes the ritual partly because the ritual is magnificent. That is the temptation. That is the brilliance. We do not need to choose tonight. We can simply see the shape. One ending is quiet mercy. One ending is terrible art. Both are memorable. Both reveal something about Grimm. And both end with the tents gone. After the ritual resolves, the troop's presence in Dirtmouth changes or vanishes. This reinforces that they were never ordinary residents. They do not settle. They do not become townspeople. They do not open a permanent theatre. They arrive for the ritual and leave when the ritual is completed or broken. Dirtmouth was never their destination. It was their stage. This makes the troop feel older and larger than Hallownest. They are not defined by the kingdom they visit. Hallownest is one stop in an ongoing pattern. The wanderer's adventure intersects with them briefly, intensely, and then they are gone. That brevity adds to their mythic quality. Grimm appears, transforms the mood of the world, gives the wanderer some of its most iconic moments, and disappears, like a travelling nightmare should. Imagine the tents folding into red smoke. No carts, no footprints, just absence. A town remembering that something impossible stood there. The stage was real, then it was gone. Colour is story in Hallownest. Blue often suggests lifeblood, calm, cold, or ancient vitality. Orange marks infection, and the radiance's influence. White and pale tones gather around the Pale King, the White Lady, and the Yessel Project. Black belongs to void, green belongs to overgrowth, and natural spaces like Greenpath. Red, in the Grimm troop, is nightmare. The red is everywhere. Tents, flame, eyes, attacks, Grimchild, the heart. This visual consistency makes the troop feel like it comes from another metaphysical ecosystem. The wanderer does not need dialogue to know the troop is separate from ordinary Hallownest. Red also carries theatrical associations. Velvet curtains, stage light, warmth, danger, blood, passion. The old silence uses those associations without turning them into a single simple meaning. Grimm's red is beautiful, dangerous, and hungry. Let the red become dimmer. Not a harsh warning light, a low ember, a curtain in a dark theatre, a lantern far away in the cliffs. The colour stays behind your eyes for a moment, then softens. Nim is gentle, but his existence is sad. After banishment he appears in Dirtmouth and resembles Broom. He gives or is associated with carefree melody. depending on the ritual state. He seems to lack Brumm's memories. The oppressive red identity is gone, replaced by a lighter musical presence. This could be read as healing. It could also be read as erasure. The world leaves it open. What makes Nim touching is that he embodies release without full restoration. Brumm wanted the ritual to end. If Nim is what remains after that ending, then freedom came with forgetfulness. He's no longer burdened by the song that never ends, but he may also no longer remember why ending it mattered. Hallowness often gives peace in incomplete forms. Mila's song becomes infected. Cloth can die bravely or survive depending on their wanderer's path. Quirrell's ending is ambiguous and quiet. Nim belongs to that family of soft, unresolved outcomes. Nim can be imagined as a small tune in a town after the circus has gone. Not triumphant, not tragic in a loud way, just there. A melody without the old nightmare behind it. Sometimes that is enough. Even after the ritual is finished, Grimm tends to remain vivid in the wanderer's mind. Partly this is because his fights demand learning. You remember what you practiced. You remember the first time the pufferfish attack filled the screen. You remember mistiming a dash into fire. You remember the moment Nightmare King Grimm stopped feeling impossible and started feeling readable. But you also remember him because his story is compact and complete. The entire troupe is a little red mythology inserted into Hallownest, with its own god, ritual, servants, rebel, rewards and endings. It feels bigger than its actual physical footprint. That is good storytelling. Not everything needs a huge map. Sometimes a hidden lantern, a town tent, and a few scattered flames can imply an entire nightmare cosmology. Let your memory of Grimm become calm. No boss pressure now, no controller in hand, just the image of the bow, the cloak, the red eyes, the music. You already survived the dance. Tonight you only have to listen. If we tie the whole story together in one thread, it sounds like this. Long ago, or at least before the night's arrival, the expanse of dream was divided, and the nightmare realm remained apart from the broader dream realm. In that red, separated depth, the nightmare's heart endures as a deep power of nightmare. To sustain itself, it is served by the Grimm Troupe, a travelling company of performers and harvesters who answer the call of nightmare lanterns. When such a lantern is lit in a fallen kingdom, the troupe can arrive. In Hallownest, the hidden lantern waits in the howling cliffs beside a dead acolyte. The night lights it, and the troupe appears in Dirtmouth. Troop Master Grimm gives the night the Grimm child, a living scarlet spawn connected to the heart cycle. The night gathers nightmare flames from Grimmkin across Hallownest. The child consumes the flames and grows. Grimm tests the night in performance. More flames are gathered. The ritual approaches its end. Brumm, a musician of the troupe, reveals his despair for the endless cycle and asks the night to break the lantern, the anchor binding the troupe to Hallownest. If the night helps him, the troupe is banished. Grimchild is lost. Carefree melody remains, and Nim appears where Brumm once might have been. If the night completes the ritual instead, they enter Grimm's nightmare and defeat Nightmare King Grimm before the nightmare's heart. The father burns, the child is fed, Grimchild reaches final form, and the heart cycle continues. That is the whole story as clearly and gently as it can be told. Everything else is atmosphere, implication and mystery. And in Hallownest, atmosphere is never small. Now that the story has been told, we can let it slow down. The lantern is in the cliffs. The cliffs are above the kingdom. The kingdom is quiet below. A dead acolyte rests beside the old red thing. The wind moves outside. The night stands small in the chamber. There is no audience yet, no tent, no music, only the hidden place and the waiting flame. A lantern is a promise that something can find its way. This lantern promises nightmare a path. The night lights it. Far away, in a realm divided from dream, something hears. No hurry, no rush, only the call. The tents rise in Dirtmouth, red cloth against the cold town, music where there was quiet. Elderbug worries, as Elderbug often does, but this time his worry is wise. The structures came from nowhere. The masks are dreadful. The music is not like the old town's usual stillness. The night enters. Grimm appears, a bow, a roll, a child, a compact in scarlet fire. The performance begins. You do not need to fight it tonight. You only need to hear the curtain lift. The Grimm child follows. Small wings, red eyes, a living flame inside a charm. At first it seems almost harmless. Later it grows, it fires, it marks the flames, it becomes the centre of the ritual's future. The night carries it through caverns and cities, past old enemies, past benches, past signs, past water and stone and fungus and dark. The child gathers what the kingdom still dreams, flame by flame, slowly, a flame in the ruins, a flame near a wall, a flame guarded by a Grimmkin, a flame in a place the night has already walked, making the familiar strange again. The Grimmkin waits, the night approaches. The fight is brief or difficult depending on the stage. The flame is taken, the Grimm child absorbs it, the map clears. Hallowness gives up another ember of nightmare. The child burns brighter. Grimm bows. That is why so many wanderers remember him. In a world of silent ruins and sudden dangers, the Red Master pauses for etiquette. If the knight bows, he returns it. The fight becomes a duel instead of an attack. But the bow is also part of the ritual. A beautiful gesture can open a dangerous dance. A graceful enemy can still serve a hungry heart. The music begins, the cloak opens, the stage is red. Brum plays. At first he seems loyal. Then, far from the tent, he speaks of weariness. The ritual has repeated too long. The harvest disturbs the dead. The song has forgotten how to end. A musician knows this. A song needs silence around it. So Brum asks for one impossible kindness. Break the anchor. Banish the master. Let Hallownest rest. His rebellion is quiet. Quiet things matter in Hallownest. Two paths. Complete the ritual, or end it here. Fight the Nightmare King, or break the lantern. Keep the Scarlet Child, or receive a carefree melody. Neither path explains itself in simple moral colours. One is art and continuity. One is mercy and loss. One preserves the heart. One frees Hallownest from this visitation. The wanderer chooses. The night does not speak. If the ritual continues, the night enters nightmare. The heart is there. Grimm is no longer only troop master. He is Nightmare King. Faster, brighter, harsher. A red dance sharpened into ordeal. Flame pillars rise. Cloak spikes bloom. Fire bats cross the air. The uppercut bursts into falling embers. The night learns. The night breathes. The night moves. The father burns. The child is fed. The heart continues. If the ritual is banished, the night returns to the cliffs. Brum is there. The lantern waits where it all began. This time the flame is not awakened. It is ended. The anchor breaks. The troop can no longer remain in Hallownest. The tents vanish. the red music leaves, Nim appears, the different melody begins. Not every ending is loud. Some endings are just the absence of a tent. Dream was once an expanse. Nightmare became a part. That is the ancient shape we are given, not as a full history book, but as a poem from the seer and a red presence behind Grimm. The nightmare realm is not mapped, but it is felt. It is the place the troop comes from. It is the red depth where the heart beats. It is the other side of the lantern's call. Not all dreams are gentle. Some dreams remember, some dreams infect, some dreams feed, and some dreams put on masks, raise tents, and ask you to dance. The nightmare's heart does not need a face like Grimm's. It does not need a speech. It beats. Behind the Nightmare King it watches or pulses or simply exists, the deep power of the Red Realm. The ritual is for it. The child is for it. The father's burning is for it. The troop's long travel is for it. In another story it might explain itself. In Hallownest it only remains. A heart does not argue. A heart continues. Grimm's story is intense, but it is also strangely perfect for sleep because it moves in ritual patterns. Lantern, tent, flame, child, dance, doubt, choice, heart. These images repeat, and repetition is calming when it's slow. Even frightening imagery becomes dreamlike when the pace softens. Red fire becomes ember light. Boss music becomes distant theatre. The Nightmare King becomes not a panic, but a remembered rhythm. The mind can rest inside patterns. The Grimm troop is a pattern. A dark one, yes, but a beautiful one. The entire Grimm story can be read as a warning about systems that make suffering beautiful. The troop's ritual is gorgeous. The fights are fair and exhilarating. The music is unforgettable. Grimm is charismatic. The rewards are meaningful. But underneath that beauty is a cycle of consumption. Fallen kingdoms provide nightmare flame. The child is raised to continue the master. The father is burned. The heart survives. Broom's rebellion matters because he hears the sorrow beneath the beauty. He does not deny the song. He simply says it cannot go on forever and still be a song. That may be the gentlest and truest line in the whole ritual. A song needs an ending. A kingdom needs rest. A servant needs freedom. A child should perhaps be more than the next vessel of an ancient appetite. But Grimm's side matters too because art has power. The ritual's beauty is why the wanderer feels drawn to complete it. If it were only ugly, the choice would be easy. It is not easy because the dance is real. So the perfect reading is not Grimm good or Grimm bad. The perfect reading is this. Grimm is beauty bound to hunger. Broom is music longing for silence. Grimmchild is innocence shaped into inheritance. The nightmare heart is survival without mercy. The night is the silent bearer who decides whether Hallownest will host the ritual to its end or let the red song leave unfinished. That is the story, not rushed, not flattened, a red thread through a dead kingdom. Before the night fully closes, let us make one more gentle circle through the red story, not to add confusion, but to let the important pieces settle in a calmer order. Grimm's story is not a random side ritual placed beside Hallownest. It is a small, complete myth about what happens after a kingdom has already fallen. The Pale King's kingdom is ruined. The infection has taken root. The streets below Dirtmouth are full of husks, ghosts, old machines, broken vows, and half-remembered prayers. Then the nightmare lantern is lit, and something from outside that tragedy arrives to make use of what remains. That is the first truth to remember softly. The Grimm troop does not create Hallownest's central wound. It comes to the wound afterward. It finds the heat that is still there, the nightmare still glowing in the ashes, and it begins to harvest. The second truth is that Grimm is both majestic and bound. He is the face of the ritual, but not its deepest source. He is troop master, performer, opponent, and father figure to the Grimm child. But the nightmare's heart is the power behind the cycle. Grimm's beauty matters because it makes the ritual feel meaningful. His bondage matters because it keeps that beauty from becoming simple heroism. The third truth is that the Grimm child is the future, not just the reward. The little companion follows quietly, rests beside the night, and grows through flame. But the final form is not merely stronger. It is a sign that the old cycle has successfully passed itself forward. The small red child carries what the father loses. The heart continues by making succession look like companionship. The fourth truth is that Brum is the voice of ending. He does not defeat Grimm in combat. He does not give a grand speech about justice. He simply says in his own weary way that the song has gone on too long. That is enough. Sometimes the most important resistance in Hallownest is not loud. Sometimes it is a tired musician asking for one final silence. And the fifth truth is that both endings leave something behind. Completion leaves the fully grown Grimm child and the knowledge that the ritual has succeeded. Banishment leaves carefree melody, Nim, and the absence of the troop from Hallownest. Neither ending erases all mystery. Neither ending explains the heart completely. But both endings reveal what the Wanderer chose to honour: the completion of the ancient performance, or the rest of the dead kingdom. Now let all of that grow lighter. The tale has settled. The certain things are steady, and the mysteries are gentle. You do not need to carry the whole nightmare cosmology with you into sleep. Just picture the final stage from far away. The red curtain is closing. The lantern is dim. The Grimm child is a tiny ember, no longer asking anything from you. Brum's song has slowed until it is almost only breath, and the nightmare realm with all its deep crimson mystery is very far away now, behind dream, behind darkness, behind the soft wall of sleep. Now, if you are still awake, let the details begin to loosen. You do not need to remember every charm interaction. You do not need to remember every flame location. You do not need to decide tonight whether banishment is kinder than completion. You do not need to fight Nightmare King Grimm in your thoughts. The lantern is far away now. The cliffs are quiet. The tents are dim. Dirtmouth is still. The Grimm child is curled beside a bench, its little red flame low and warm. Brum's accordion is softer than before. Nim's melody waits in another possible ending. The heart beats far behind the curtain, too distant to reach you here. Breathe in and breathe out. The night lowers the nail. The stage darkens. The audience fades into shadow. The red cloth settles. One by one, the flames become small points in the dark, then embers, then memories. Hallownest does what Hallownest always does at the end of a long journey. It grows quiet. The city rain falls somewhere below. The stagways sleep. The cliffs breathe wind. The lantern is either broken or waiting, but it is not calling you tonight. Tonight there is no role you need to play. No compact written in fire. No boss door. No final phase. Only rest. Only the soft dark. Only the strange comfort of a story that can hold fire and still let you sleep. So let the nightmare realm drift away now. Let Grimm bow one last time, very slowly, at the edge of the stage. Let Brum's song find its final note. Let the heart beat far away, where old dreams keep their own counsel, and let yourself become still. You have walked through the whole story of Grimm and the nightmare realm. You have followed the lantern, the troop, the child, the flames, the master, the musician, the heart, and the choice. Now the story can close its eyes too. Sleep well, wherever you're watching from. Good night.